We live in an age where every moment, every thought, every triumph, or even the hint of a struggle is shared at lightning speed. Social media and conversations can make us feel as though we're obligated to narrate our lives in real time. But what if the relentless urge to share is pulling us away from something far more precious, our sense of self? In a world that values oversharing, where every meal, milestone, and moment seems to be up for public consumption, protecting what is sacred can feel countercultural. But it is one of the most important acts of self-care we can practice. Think about the most precious memories of your life, those moments that made your heart feel full, your spirit alive. Maybe it was a private conversation with someone you love, a personal victory after months of hard work, or even a moment of quiet reflection where everything seemed to click into place. Now, imagine handing those moments over to strangers or casual acquaintances, people who may not understand, appreciate, or even respect the significance of what you've shared. What happens to the sacredness of that moment when it's met with indifference or worse, judgment? Protecting the sacred doesn't mean you're being secretive or hiding. It means you're honoring what is most important to you by not exposing it to the wrong energies. Not everyone in your life is equipped to hold the weight of your experiences, nor do they need to. Some parts of your life are meant to be carried gently in your own hands until you feel ready, and even then, only shared with people who have earned that trust. I think of it this way: if you owned a rare and priceless piece of art, would you hang it on a public street corner subject to the elements and the opinions of passersby, or would you place it in a safe space where it could be appreciated by those who understand its value? The same principle applies to the most intimate, vulnerable, and transformative parts of our lives. They are treasures, and treasures deserve care and discernment. When we protect the sacred, we also protect our energy. Constantly sharing every aspect of our lives can become draining. It opens the door to unsolicited advice, misinterpretation, or even criticism. By keeping certain things closed, we create space to truly process our experiences and understand what they mean to us before inviting others into that understanding. Protecting the sacred also fosters deeper and more meaningful relationships. When we choose carefully who to share with, we allow those connections to become more authentic and intimate. Instead of casting our pearls before those who might not see their value, we're offering them to people who will cherish and honor them. Finally, it's worth remembering that not everything needs an audience to matter. Your joy is valid, even if no one else sees it. Your struggles are significant, even if they're not posted online. And your growth is real, even if it happens quietly. Protecting the sacred is an act of claiming your own worth, independent of the world's gaze. When you learn to protect the sacred, you reclaim a part of your soul. You remind yourself in the world that your life is not a performance. It's a journey, and it deserves to unfold on your terms, in your time, and with the people who truly matter. At first glance, connection and validation might seem similar, but they are profoundly different in their essence and impact. Understanding the distinction between the two is essential for creating meaningful relationships and maintaining emotional well-being. What is connection? Connection is the deep, genuine bond that forms when people truly see and understand each other. It's rooted in empathy, mutual respect, and shared vulnerability. When you connect with someone, you feel a sense of belonging, not because they approve of you, but because they accept you, flaws and all. Connection doesn't require you to prove your worth. It asks only that you show up as you are. What is validation? Validation, on the other hand, often revolves around seeking external approval or affirmation. It's the act of looking outside yourself to confirm your feelings, worth, or choices. While validation is a natural human need to some degree, we all want to feel seen and valued. It can become unhealthy when it's sought excessively or becomes a substitute for internal self-worth. The tension between the two. In our fast-paced, share-everything culture, the line between connection and validation can blur. We post on social media, share personal updates, and open up in conversations, hoping to connect. But sometimes what we're truly seeking is validation, likes, comments, praise, or a sense of being enough in someone else's eyes. The danger here is that validation can feel like connection in the short term, but it rarely sustains us. When we rely on validation, we give others power over our sense of self. Their approval can lift us up, but their indifference or criticism can just as easily bring us crashing down. This creates a cycle of external dependence where we constantly seek reassurance instead of cultivating the internal confidence that true connection demands. How to discern the difference. Recognizing whether you're seeking connection or validation requires self-awareness and honesty. Ask yourself these questions. Why am I sharing this? Are you opening up to foster understanding and deepen a relationship, or are you hoping for applause, agreement, or reassurance? How do I feel afterward? Genuine connection leaves you feeling uplifted, seen, and supported. Validation might feel good initially, but often leaves an emptiness that sends you searching for the next hit of approval. Am I being authentic? Connection thrives on authenticity, while validation often leads to performance. Are you sharing the truth of who you are or tailoring your story to gain favor? The importance of connection over validation. Connection feeds the soul in ways validation never can. It builds trust, intimacy, and resilience. When we focus on connection, we prioritize relationships that can weather life's storms, not just celebrate its sunny moments. Connection isn't about applause, it's about presence. It's the friend who sits with you in silence when words won't suffice, the partner who knows your quirks and loves you anyway, and the stranger who offers kindness with no strings attached. On the other hand, validation is fleeting. It feels good in the moment, but often leaves us chasing more, like drinking salt water to quench a thirst. Validation can even be harmful when it leads us to compromise our values or authenticity to win approval. Choosing connection in a validation-driven world. Living in a world driven by likes and instant feedback makes choosing connection over validation a conscious and courageous act. It requires setting boundaries and being selective about who we share our lives with. Not everyone will offer connection, and that's okay. What matters is that we surround ourselves with people who value us for who we are, not what we can perform or provide. Finally, remember that the most important connection you can cultivate is the one with yourself. When you honor your own feelings, trust your instincts, and value your worth, you become less reliant on external validation. You learn that you don't need to share every detail of your life to matter. Your life, your story, and your value are enough, whether or not they're met with applause. Discernment between connection and validation is a practice, not a destination. It's about pausing, reflecting, and choosing relationships and actions that nourish rather than deplete. When you prioritize connection over validation, you open the door to a richer, more meaningful way of being in a world that moves at breakneck speed, where instant responses and immediate reactions are often expected. The pause is a revolutionary act. It's a moment of stillness that allows us to breathe, reflect, and choose our actions with intention. The power of the pause lies in its ability to shift us from reacting impulsively to responding thoughtfully, helping us navigate our lives with clarity and grace. Why pausing feels unnatural. For many of us, the idea of pausing can feel counterintuitive. We've been conditioned to believe that action is synonymous with progress, that doing something, anything is better than standing still. In conversations, we feel the pressure to fill silences. In conflicts, we rush to defend ourselves or make our point. In decision-making, we're tempted to act quickly rather than risk missing an opportunity. But here's the truth: impulsive action often leads to regret. When we skip the pause, we sacrifice the opportunity to process our emotions, consider our options, and act in alignment with our values. The pause is not procrastination, it's preparation. It's the moment we take to ensure our next step is the right one. The pause in communication. One of the most significant ways the pause shows its power is in our communication. Imagine you're in a heated discussion. Emotions are high and the urge to say something, anything, is overwhelming. But what if, instead of reacting, you paused? That brief moment of silence allows you to take a breath, calm your emotions, and choose your words carefully. It creates space for understanding rather than escalation. The pause can also transform how we listen. Too often, we're so focused on preparing our response that we don't truly hear the other person. Pausing before speaking gives us the chance to fully absorb what's been said, fostering deeper understanding and connection. The pause in decision-making. Life is full of decisions, big and small. When we rush through them, we often base our choices on fear, pressure, or habit rather than intention. Pausing gives us the opportunity to weigh our options, consider the consequences, and ensure our decisions align with our goals and values. For example, think about the emails or messages you sent in haste, only to wish you could unsend them later. A simple pause could have setting boundaries is often misunderstood. Many people see them as barriers, rigid walls that shut others out and create distance. But in reality, boundaries are bridges that connect us to others in healthier, more meaningful ways. They are not about isolation or rejection. They're about clarity, respect, and cultivating relationships where both parties can thrive. What boundaries really are. Boundaries are limits we set to protect our emotional, mental, and physical well-being. They define what is acceptable and unacceptable in our interactions with others. Far from being acts of aggression or selfishness, boundaries are acts of self-respect. They communicate, this is what I need to feel safe, valued, and hold up, but boundaries are not just about self-preservation. They are also about showing respect for the people in our lives. When we establish boundaries, we teach others how to engage with us in ways that are mutually beneficial. Healthy boundaries foster trust, understanding, and connection. Why boundaries are bridges. When you set a boundary, you're not shutting someone out, you're inviting them in under terms that respect both of you. Think of a bridge, it connects 2 points, but it has clear edges to guide the way. Without those edges, it's easy to veer off course and risk falling into chaos. Similarly, boundaries provide structure and guidance in our relationships, allowing us to navigate them safely and effectively. Boundaries create bridges in several ways. They clarify expectations. When you communicate your needs and limits, you remove the guesswork. Others no longer have to wonder what you're comfortable with, and you reduce the likelihood of misunderstandings or conflicts. Clear expectations create stronger, more secure relationships. In a society obsessed with visibility, where progress is often measured by how publicly it's displayed, quiet growth can feel like an overlooked concept. But some of the most transformative growth happens not in the spotlight, but in the stillness of our inner world. Quiet growth is a subtle, steady, and deeply personal process that doesn't seek validation or applause. It's about becoming who you're meant to be, even when no one is watching. Why quiet growth matters. Growth is often associated with grand gestures or noticeable achievements, promotions, accolades, or milestones we can share with others. While these moments are worth celebrating, they don't capture the full picture. Quiet growth, on the other hand, happens in the background, often unnoticed even by ourselves until we look back and realize how far we've come. It's the foundation that supports those larger, more visible achievements. Quiet growth matters because it's sustainable. Public growth can sometimes be performative, driven by the need to impress or meet external expectations. Quiet growth is authentic and rooted in intrinsic motivation. It's about making choices and changes that align with your values, regardless of whether others acknowledge them. Examples of quiet growth. Quiet growth looks different for everyone. It could be the person who practices patience in their daily interactions, working silently to temper a quick temper. The individual who starts prioritizing their mental health, setting boundaries without announcing them to the world. The student who diligently learns a skill in private long before they ever use it publicly. The friend who learns to forgive, releasing resentment not for recognition, but for their own peace. These moments of growth may not come with confetti or a round of applause, but they shape our character in profound ways. The challenges of quiet growth. Quiet growth is powerful, but it's not always easy. One of the biggest challenges is resisting the urge to seek external validation. In an age of social media and constant connectivity, we're conditioned to share our progress and wait for feedback. But quiet growth asks us to trust the process, even when no one else knows it's happening. Another challenge is patience. Quiet growth is slow and often feels invisible. It's easy to get discouraged when progress isn't immediately apparent. But much like a seed germinating beneath the soil, the most important changes often happen out of sight. The benefits of quiet growth. It builds resilience. Quiet growth strengthens your inner foundation. Without the pressure of performing for others, you develop skills, habits, and mindsets that are genuinely yours. This makes your growth more enduring and less dependent on external circumstances. It cultivates self-trust. When you focus on quiet growth, you learn to rely on your own judgment rather than the approval of others. You begin to trust your instincts, knowing that your journey is unfolding exactly as it should. It allows space for reflection. Growth in solitude gives you time to reflect on your progress and make adjustments. Without the noise of outside opinions, you can tune into what truly matters to you. It deepens authenticity. Quiet growth ensures that your changes are rooted in authenticity. They aren't for show, they're for you. This kind of growth leads to a life that feels more aligned and fulfilling. How to embrace quiet growth. Set private goals. Not every goal needs to be shared. Identify areas of your life where you'd like to grow and keep them close to your heart. Let the process unfold without outside influence. Celebrate small wins. Quiet growth often consists of small, incremental changes. Celebrate these moments even if no one else notices them. Acknowledge your effort and progress, it's enough. Resist the pressure to share. It's tempting to post every milestone or tell others about your progress, but sometimes growth is more powerful when it's kept private. Allow yourself the space to grow without outside input. You can be patient. Quiet growth is slow but steady. Trust that the work you're doing will bear fruit, even if it takes time. Remember, a tree doesn't sprout overnight, but its roots grow deep long before its branches reach the sky. Conclusion. The power of quiet growth lies in its authenticity and sustainability. It's the kind of change that doesn't demand attention or validation, but transforms you from the inside out. While it may not be celebrated with fanfare, it's the foundation of a life lived with purpose and intention. Quiet growth reminds us that true progress doesn't need an audience, it only needs our commitment. So embrace the stillness, trust the process, and let your growth unfold quietly but powerfully. In its own time. As we reflect on the importance of protecting the sacred, discerning connection from validation, pausing before reacting, building boundaries as bridges, and embracing the power of quiet growth, one thing becomes clear. True transformation doesn't require an audience. It requires courage. The courage to value what's meaningful over what's visible. The courage to nurture yourself even when the world isn't watching. And the courage to trust that your journey is enough, even when it unfolds quietly. So as you step forward from here, I encourage you to hold space for yourself. Protect what matters most. Share wisely. Set boundaries that honor who you are. Take your time. And most of all, trust in the quiet, steady rhythm of your own growth. Because the most profound changes in life don't happen in the spotlight, they happen within you. Thank you.